Welcome to Perspectives from Ayara. Today, we are bringing an expert perspective in our fireside chat format. I'm joined today by Nancy Boling, who has deep revenue management expertise in multiple areas such as pricing, policy, process automation, system implementations, disclosures, and reporting compliance with FASB standards. Welcome, Nancy Boling.
Thank you.
I'm also joined by Nancy Hilker, the former CFO at Ayara and other enterprise SaaS companies. She has extensive operational experience in managing finance teams and partnering with sales and sales operations teams. Welcome, Nancy Hilker.
Thank you.
Also here is Jeff Jackson, who's Ayara's Chief Revenue Officer. Jeff is a force behind the growth of revenue management applications and in the landscape as we know it today. And he has seen the space grow and evolve into how we at Ayara are doing it. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
With a warm welcome to you all, I go to a first question, which is I'd like to get your individual perspectives on what are the really top of the mind concerns for each of your speakers here, starting with Nancy Boling.
Thank you. Streamlining processes and integrating systems from end to end is key. If systems aren't integrated, then neither are the people or the teams within the company.
Nancy Hilker.
I agree with Nancy Boling in that key items are really streamlining process, integrating systems, and also facilitating the process so that teams work well together from end to end, starting with sales to sales ops to finance.
Work well together. We like it at Ayara. So Jeff, your perspective, please.
I think all businesses deal with limited resources. And what's top on my mind is really how to make sure you have the right resources. There's a lot of claim in the market. How do you get the top performers? Top performers is really what we want, but what we really want is a team that works well together. And so being able to have everybody in a company march or play on the same team in every capacity within the company and understand what the goals are and the objectives of the company and working together. That alignment across an organization is very significant because what we're really trying to do is effectively use the resources available to companies to deliver the value that is the objective of all companies.
Great, thank you. Let me move on to the next question. I think I see the panel here today as a diverse set of perspectives, individually from your past experience. Nancy Boling, you come from technical revenue advisory, the policy formulation, and kind of how pricing, and its impacts on revenue. I mean, from a chief experience of, what you bring to Ayara as an advisor. Also, Nancy Hilker, deep operational finance experience. It's kind of a different side of the table. But Jeff, you've been a sales leader, revenue, driving revenue operations for a long time. So from around the table here, I'd love to get your perspective on what is typically the sales and finance friction. What are the factors, and how do you see in your own individual experience and capacities? What helps to minimize it? What helps to what tools and technology and how they can help streamline that?
Yeah, so deviations from standard policies are by far the most time-consuming, friction-intensified, and high-risk areas, and not only to the company, but between the finance and sales. These policy sections have traditionally surfaced on the end of the deal, which causes risk to planned annual recurring revenue or ARR. To resolve these issues, deal flow automation using intelligent guidance tools such as Ayara that highlights company policy exceptions on the front end is the way of the future with a finance transformation.
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy Hilker?
Again, I agree with Nancy Boling entirely. It's the exceptions that create the friction, and the earlier they can be identified in the process, the sooner they can be addressed. You don't want a surprise or some kind of block at the end of a quarter. You don't want to surprise the customer with changes to the quote because it's not going to get through the system. And you also want a visibility for your forecast, not only for hitting that quarter, but for future forecasts.
Thank you, Nancy. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, I come from the sales side of it. So I think having the right expectations set across an organization and an effective way to communicate those expectations is vital. And there's other parts to it as well, as far as just well-established policies, price book and pricing and discount policies. Those are pretty vital to having a common understanding. And when deals are done and they're outside of guidance or they're outside of the policies, companies are going to have those, but it's whether that information is communicated effectively to those that are approving the deal, and that as a company they're making the right decision or making a decision that everybody can agree upon. So that alignment and the unifying of that, I really think it's vital to have those cross-functional roles working together, but also that they know what they all have the same expectations and can work together as a company, and and then where we're at, where I'm at with Ayara is that people can form some of those relationships to really unify organizations, but it really comes down to systems allowing those deal approvals to happen in a seamless way, and then visibility sooner rather than later is vital.
That's great, Jeff. I think definitely what I'm hearing from all of you is alignment around Office of Revenue, from policy, tools, and technology, and of course, the centricity of every function, to be driving revenue. And of course, assistive technologies, like Ayara is always, helping hand in terms of formulating that alignment, essentially. So I think that's great. We talked about revenue, aligning functions around revenue. So in your own perspectives about how companies see margin management, right? Your gross margin visibility right from the forecasting stage, which industries do you see as, facing those pressures, if you will? Can I get some insight from each one of you, starting with Nancy? Boling?
Sure. With the uncertainty of the economy and the volatility of the market, I'm seeing industries across all verticals having margin profitability pressures. With a tool like Ayara that performs the standalone selling price or the SSP analysis on the front end of the deal, this allows for better revenue forecasting and the related margins and profitability.
Thanks, Nancy. Nancy Hilker?
Yes, I've worked largely with enterprise software companies where deals require a significant amount of upfront system implementation in order to launch the product, and the pricing and margins are critical. And it's not just sales and finance, but it's sales, professional services, and finance that need to work together on that. And with Ayara's ability to take a look and make visible the revenue allocation up front, this gives you more visibility into the margins. It lets sales and professional services work out where the discounts are going to go. And again, there's no surprises after the quarter and the deal is signed that some of the revenue on the license side has been handed over to the professional services side, and everybody is surprised.
Jeff?
Yeah, I think it comes down to predictability, right? If things are going to be bad, but you have predicted that they're going to go there, then that's different than having it be a surprise. So the better we can analyze and know what our margins and what our deal cycles are going to look like. So if you take a look like ASP, you're looking at your average deal size, you're looking at your average deal cycle. If you can, hopefully with the knowledge of what those are, we can actually tune those in a little bit, get a faster deal cycle and velocity of deals, and then also maybe move that ASP up, include other products and other services, things like that. But without the predictability in our business or for any business, it makes it difficult. And I've spent most of my time in the high tech space. The ones that probably have the hardest time, I think today, would be any company that deals with supply chain problems. So traditionally, hardware, software companies are going to have some interruptions, even from construction management or whatever. How do you have that predictability in the business with a very volatile market? And that's where automation can help. It may not alleviate all of it, but that predictability and seeing things in advance as much as possible is what I would suggest. And I don't think anybody disagree, but that we'd all like that, right?
Absolutely. I think the consistency of forecast and delivery to forecast is what revenue delivery to forecast is what all the companies are, measured and ever so in tougher times. And I think each of you, from your perspective, definitely enforce that belief. I think that companies are experiencing today, sales operations and revenue visibility within that cycle is ever so critical, as well as the compliance piece. But as I think we all agree on. But is there a scale of this problem? You have to be a certain stage or a size to be able to hitting the tool sets that actually automate or manage or create this visibility, from a revenue forecasting, from a margin forecasting, or people run FP&A, but what is in your own perspectives individually? What is the stage at which this starts becoming? Is it important for mid-sized companies, or is it only a large company problem? Can you share with our audience here, starting with Nancy Boling?
Yes, the sooner you can automate, the better. As previously mentioned, being able to insert the company deal policy and rules in the system such as Ayara, this increases the deal velocity by addressing any deal issues on the front end. Plus, it reduces the friction between sales and finance. So the sooner the better you can automate.
That's it.
Again, the sooner you get the automation in there, the better. And in fact, the smaller the company is, the easier it is to put the process in place, put the systems in place, and let it scale with you. And, by putting up more control into the upfront sales and sales ops hands and using the guidelines within the system, you can increase that velocity, get the deals through faster. Hopefully the company can grow more smoothly, grow faster, and learn from the beginning how to price and get the deals to go through. I think it's like continual training by being able to have the guidelines and any exceptions highlighted.
Thank you. Jeff?
I agree. I think the principles that we're talking about here apply to every company at any stage or size. Their ability to execute is going to be different based on their size. The demands for systems and other things will be different. But really, as soon as a company can define their policies, and these principles are sound principles, right? Without a stable price book, how are you going to really comply with the standalone selling price, right? Parameters, and how do you keep those within guidance or within acceptable parameters for your proper accounting? So, those principles are valid no matter how small you are. The impact of that definitely changes as you want to go public or want to get bigger as a company, and you have more professional outside auditors coming in to take a look at what you're doing. Those things change. Automation is vital to that, to be able to put those policies, all these corporate and business principles together early on, that it does reach beyond just the post-booking phase is vital. But I think they apply all along. A lot of small companies start off very much, Wild West style, going out and getting anything they can at any cost. Once they have to start restricting down to these pricing policies, these discount policies, to conform with accounting standards that the company set, it's harder if you've been off the leash for a while, and then now here comes the leash, right? And the fenced yard thing. So I'd say this applies to all companies. The earlier the better. That was said, but automation. If you're 5 people and less than $10 million, it's an automation might be hard, and it's an ever-changing landscape for technology out there. But if those policies are set early, I'd encourage automation earlier rather than later.
Thank you. In closing, I have one question from the audience perspective. If I'm a revenue controller, I'm a business leader, I'm a CRO, CFO, CAO. What's the one thing that they can benefit or think about? Where do we start? Like, can you give some tip of the day for them, starting with Nancy Boling?
Yes, automation, the sooner the better. Where possible. The price of tools such as Ayara are much cheaper than having a person maintain manual spreadsheets and all the processes. Furthermore, automation reduces the risk of error and increases deal flow when having one point of entry for the deal data that flows all the way through all systems.
Thank you. Nancy, Hilker?
I think just increasing visibility into the deals, the deal flow, speeding the whole process up, and again, identifying any exceptions and removing that surprise element towards the end of a quarter is key.
Jeff?
Yeah, if you look at how companies do business, usually we don't find out really until after the period's ended, or after accounting's gotten through with all the things that they're going to do for the revenue recognition, taxes, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to understand or really get a visibility on the direction of your business. So it makes it more difficult to pivot if you don't have visibility beforehand. Businesses today for profitability need to be able to pivot. They need to be able to add additional business streams. We're in a subscription economy. Maybe you've sold perpetual and now you have this growing business of subscription. Maybe you've just cut the cord and you're going all subscription. Whatever the model is that you're in as a company, being able to add additional services or performance obligations in accounting terms, right? Add additional services, sell it in a different way, and be able to get visibility quickly and effectively of what the margin base looks like for that business. You don't want to cannibalize your other business, but having that visibility ahead of time to see where maybe your pricing policies, discounting policies, or even product configurations need to change. I think that's vital. And the better you can get information up front, the more successful businesses will be.
So thank you. Automate, do it, maintaining the visibility, yet keep the flexibility that your business demands is what I took away from all three of you. It's great. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for bringing these diverse perspectives to Ayara. Up next, we're coming up with some more interesting expert perspectives in our upcoming videos. Please tune in and share with your network. Let us know additional topics of interest on social media to you or any relevant questions that you may like to see answered. Thank you for tuning in, and bye for now from Ayara.